Okay, picture this. You wander into a quiet, dusty little thrift store on a lazy afternoon. You're just browsing, right? Just looking for something cool to stick on a bookshelf. You find an old book, pay a few bucks for it, and head home. But when you flip through the pages, a folded piece of paper drops out. Now, this isn't some forgotten grocery list. It's a map. And it's a map that experts would soon value at $500,000. In this explainer, we're diving into the absolutely gripping true mystery of that exact map. We'll look at why it was worth a literal fortune and what actually happened to it. So buckle up, because we are stepping straight into a real-world treasure hunt.
$10. I mean, it's the price of a couple of coffees, maybe a quick fast food lunch, or in the case of our story, the price tag on a forgotten item just sitting in a thrift store. It's an incredibly mundane amount of money, isn't it? When you drop $10, you definitely do not expect it to change your life, and you certainly don't expect it to kick off a massive historical investigation. But this incredibly low initial price tag, well, that's exactly where our mystery begins. Because then, the stakes completely flip. $500,000. Seriously, just think about that. How does a totally forgotten item bought with a single $10 bill suddenly command the price of a luxury home? To wrap our heads around this massive leap in value, we actually need to rewind to the exact moment of discovery and trace how this unbelievable transformation happened. So, let's set the scene. The year is 2018, and we're in a small, quiet town in Pennsylvania. A woman, we're just going to call her Sarah to protect her privacy, wanders into a local used bookstore on a whim. Now, Sarah isn't some hardcore historian or a rare book dealer. She just genuinely loves the look and feel of old books, the antique bindings, the aged paper, you know the vibe. She's browsing the aisles, and tucked away in the shadows of a dusty bottom shelf, she spots something. She buys it, purely because she thinks the weathered spine is going to look amazing sitting on her mantelpiece.
And the item she bought? It was this incredibly worn, leather-bound book. The cover was torn, totally weathered by centuries of time, and the title was barely even visible. But if you squinted and looked really closely, you could just make out the words, Pirates of the Spanish Main, 1724. It fit her aesthetic perfectly. But the real magic, that happened a bit later. When Sarah got home, she sat down and started gently flipping through the super fragile pages of her $10 find. And as she turned those pages, she felt something shift inside the spine. Then, from deep inside the book's binding, a folded, yellowed piece of paper just slipped right out and dropped onto the table. Now, this hidden paper wasn't an old letter, it wasn't a receipt, it was a hand-drawn map. The parchment was incredibly yellowed, and the torn corners showed some really heavy wear. The ink had faded to this very distinct, aged brown color. And right there, smack in the middle of the paper, pointing to a small Caribbean island, was a massive, undeniable X. Right above it were the Spanish words Isla de Tesoro, which literally translates to Treasure Island. Now, Sarah's first thought was, of course, completely logical. She figured, okay, this has to be a movie prop, right? Just a clever reproduction somebody left behind. But holding it right there in her hands, the paper just felt too real. It felt ancient. So, trusting her guts, Sarah takes the map down to a local antique dealer. The dealer takes one look at this thing and just stops cold. He tells her right out of the gate, this looks like authentic paper from the 1700s. It's handmade. But the real dead giveaway? The ink. It was iron gall ink. It's this handmade recipe that specifically fades to a very distinct ancient brown color, and it was commonly used in documents and books dating back 300 years. The dealer knew instantly there was no way this was just some cheap Hollywood prop. From there, the mystery just explodes into a full-blown forensic investigation. We're talking a professional cartographer and historian being brought in for a grueling 3-month meticulous process. Step 1, they confirmed the map actually originated in the 1720s or 1730s, which puts it right dead center in the Golden Age of Piracy. Step 2, they analyzed the coastline drawn on the yellowed paper and perfectly matched the geography to a small island near Hispaniola down in the Caribbean. And Step 3, they verified that the cryptic symbols scattered all over the map were completely authentic to pirate treasure maps from that exact era. Every single test they ran pointed to one mind-blowing conclusion. This thing was the real deal. So, after 3 months of intense scrutiny, the official appraisal finally comes in. The value of this folded, torn little piece of paper, between $450,000 and $550,000. Just take a second to really process that. A $10 thrift store book, bought purely for its visual aesthetic, was secretly hiding a $500,000 artifact. Sarah was literally holding a life-changing piece of history right in the palm of her hands.
But, of course, this astronomical appraisal begs the ultimate question, right? Did it lead to real treasure? Now, any historian will be the first to tell you that about 90% of old pirate maps are complete fakes. They're usually what they call fantasy maps that sailors just drew as a joke or to pass the time on long voyages. But the experts confirmed that the paper, the iron gall ink, and the specific drawing style of Sarah's map were 100% authentic to the 1700s. Someone genuinely drew this exact map 3 centuries ago to mark a very specific location. It wasn't a joke, it was a physical document marking a real physical place.
Suddenly, Sarah is staring down a massive, life-altering dilemma with two very, very different paths. Option 1, she could sell it at auction. This was the safe, guaranteed route. Wealthy collectors would absolutely trip over themselves to buy it as a certified pirate artifact, which meant a massive, guaranteed payout. Or, option 2, go on a treasure hunt. I mean, talk about the ultimate dangerous temptation. She could actually try to follow the X herself. But historians heavily warned her that modern treasure hunting in the Caribbean is often completely illegal, it's highly dangerous, and there is a 99% chance of finding absolutely nothing but sand. The gold could have been dug up 200 years ago, or, honestly, it might never have even been there at all. So, what did she actually choose? Well, in 2019, Sarah made the highly practical, life-changing decision to hand the map over to the prestigious Sotheby's auction house. And it sold. It went to a private collector for a staggering $480,000. Sarah took that incredible windfall and used it to completely secure her family's future. She bought a house and fully funded her children's education. At the end of the day, she traded the risky fantasy of buried pirate gold for the very real, tangible treasure of long-term financial security.
So what does a $500,000 thrift store find actually teach us? Well, first off, it proves that history is still hiding right in plain sight. You really just have to know where to look. Places like thrift stores, garage sales, and estate sales, they truly are modern-day treasure grounds. The gold isn't always buried deep on some distant Caribbean island. Sometimes it's literally just sitting on a dusty bottom shelf in Pennsylvania. But, okay, we do need a quick reality check here. 99.9% of the time, that $10 book you buy is literally just an old book. You probably aren't going to find a 300-year-old pirate map inside your next thrift store purchase.
But still, what if? And that brings us to our final, lingering mystery. Is the gold still out there? Honestly, we just don't know. The private collector who bought the map for nearly $500,000 never went public. We have absolutely no idea if they simply framed it behind some museum glass in a mansion, or if they quietly chartered a private boat down to Hispaniola to go follow that faded brown X themselves. The true fate of the treasure at Isla de Tesoro remains an entirely unsolved mystery. It's just a gripping reminder that real history is absolutely full of secrets, and sometimes a genuine legend is just waiting to fall out of a $10 book. So hey, next time you walk past an old bookstore, maybe take a second look.